Today we have Jocelyn Bellows. Jocelyn, you now originally you reached out to me because you were like, "Hey, I got that whole NLP practitioner background, and I really
Got
haven't
that
had,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, and I really haven't had anybody that specifically calls themselves an NLP practitioner that I've talked to yet.
Hmm.
So I suppose and I love NLP. I mean, oh man, I'm a big fan, at least academically, of everything Richard Bandler has ever put out, and John Grinder, and all the big names, and Tony Robbins. I mean, or neuroassociative conditioning. Guess I got to call it that legally these days. Yeah, all those sort of things. So I'm curious, Jocelyn, do you let people know that when you work with them that NLP is the primary modality that you use, or what is sort of the entryway to actually finding you and seeking you out for your help?
Yeah. So actually, what I call myself is I'm a breakup to wake up coach.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, go into that, please.
Yeah, I will. And so NLP kind of will simply be infused in the conversation over time, depending on where the client is, right? Or in the in the case with group, it depends on where that individual is. If they really understand if they're ready to understand what NLP is. Many people are coming and seeking because they're seeking a definitive change in the world, in
Mm,
their own life. And that's so over time that will get massaged, but it really depends on where everyone is within their own journey. So for the breakup to wake up, what that really means is breaking up with the old stories of what we've told ourselves of what of the small-mindedness and the limited world that we've decided to live in. Breaking up with old energy, walking away perhaps from people that are no longer, serving your highest and best good. It doesn't necessarily mean when you talk about the breakup piece, it's breaking up with a relationship with self.
yeah,
It's actually
right.
not an external thing; it's an internal relationship. And then having that opportunity to wake up to the most glorious, beautiful individual that this love that you were always meant to be, that you actually are, but you've layered all this other junk on top of yourself and told
Right.
yourself that you're, not worthy. Or someone when you were 3 years old made a comment to you that you infused as yours,
Right. Right.
created it as yours, and understanding that it isn't, that all of that you've layered on yourself isn't actually you, was never actually you. Um, one of my
Mm,
clients one of my clients had just an example of this is her father had been an alcoholic prior to her birth,
right. Right.
had stopped drinking, and on the day of her birth it was told to her that her father had a drink. And so for her entire lifetime she had this belief that she caused her father's alcoholism or a
Wow.
potential relapse in this case, and that simply wasn't true. What was not shared with her in the story is that her father drank that day to celebrate her birth and didn't have any, it was a choice he made to celebrate. Didn't have any addiction at that point, because he'd come to terms with where he was and was just simply celebrating. But for her, she thought she caused this horrible thing that happened in her father's life as a result of her birth. And it happened from the day she arrived. So that
Wow.
when you start to do that kind of those things to yourself, or you have that belief within yourself, you start to tell yourself stories of, I'm not worthy of, deserving the love that I am allowed to have. I'm not worthy of deserving the finances that I'm allowed to, that are available to me. You tell yourself all these little stories that keep you in a small space. So it's getting to the roots of those actual stories. Where do they originate?
Yeah.
And coming to terms with them in some of the practices that I do. A lot of what I do is actual visualization work. So it's a lot with your almost at my sessions are majority with our eyes closed.
I was
Um,
gonna ask. I was gonna ask because NLP frequently When you're doing often I had a teacher that equated NLP to waking hypnosis a lot of the time, waking trance. A lot of the processes are designed to be done with your eyes open. I was wondering if you still found yourself doing like that more trance, traditional eyes closed work.
I do. And that's, that was because based on my own teaching and my own process when I stepped into my first coach's office. And I felt, and I've worked with a number of coaches over the last few years, and I have found that the visualization work is profoundly, in my view, has been profoundly more effective than talking through it,
Mm,
and having a conversation. And not to say that the conversation isn't effective. It's what I have just found is that being able for myself, for my clients to paint their own picture
yeah,
and getting down and seeing it for themselves, because I don't have your answers. Like, I don't have your answers. You don't have my answers. I have my answers. They're all inside of me. But
yeah,
being able
yeah,
to have that physicality of sight within our own being of who is in the picture that we need to speak to. Is it ourselves at a younger age? Is it, and a lot of times it is it
yeah,
a parental figure? Is it your math teacher from fourth grade? you know
yeah, yeah.
um, those, you get to call those people into your space, and there's such a metaphor for whatever you're actually putting into your line of vision. If it's calm water, if it's destructive water, if it's certain colors, they all have a meaning that we've created for ourselves. And to be able to bring that into existence, to have that again, that physicality around that, and coming to terms with it, I just have found that that's been profoundly more effective for people to really understand and imbibe it within their own being.
I
And
have to
then,
ask you something. This
yeah,
is
go ahead.
like off the top of my head.
Yeah,
Did
go
you
ahead.
develop did you develop your speaking voice around this, or did you always speak in this manner? Because I am so trancing out right now. It's ridiculous.
Really?
Yes, yes.
Is
And
that a trancing out in a good way or in
in a
a,
good
am I
way.
losing you?
No, no, no.
Okay.
You're really getting me to the point where I'm like, I don't know if this was always this woman or she really worked on this, because either way, it's great. It's just I am everything you're saying is going, like, it feels like it's going deep into my subconscious, which is fantastic.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. You know what? That's a wonderful question to ask, because I'd say that there's probably been pieces of me that I've always spoken this way, and unconsciously, I probably spoke this way for many years, and then I woke up. and now
Yeah.
it's and now I find that the vocabulary and the words that I use and how I speak is, it feels different to me because I'm more aware of it.
Mm.
Um, that's curiosity. I think what I might just do actually is go back to people that I was close with before I woke up, and I'm curious to see what they might come back to me with.